Today we're going to talk about time management. The first idea I want to get into is this idea of prioritizing. Think about it like this. This is from Stephen Covey, from his 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He gave us this idea that if you divide all of the things that you have to do up into 4 categories, they should be these ones. First, quadrant 1 here is urgent and important. So tasks that are driven by deadlines, things that you have to react to quickly, and pressing problems, things that are kind of urgent. Right? Notice urgent and important. These things matter and they've got to be done now. Quadrant 2, he talks about non-urgent but still important. So long-term, planning out your week. Long-term assignments and projects. So at the beginning of your semester, most of the time you get long-term information in your course outlines and your syllabus. Use that to plan things out. Know what's coming up. And things like your health, your wellness, your nutrition, relationships, these things are very important. But if you ignore them today, they're not going to disappear. They're not going to become urgent. But if you ignore them for a long time, they will become urgent. So the quadrant 2 stuff is things that really matter. And then if you ignore it, eventually it will become urgent. Quadrant 3 is things that are urgent, but maybe not quite as important. Phone calls, emails, text messages. These things feel very urgent because they show up on our phones, they show up in our computers, they say, hey, answer me now. They're not necessarily that important. Like if you do ignore them, if you do miss responding, it probably isn't going to be the end of the world. A lot of times this means you're meeting other people's priorities and expectations rather than focusing on the stuff that's really important for your long-term success. And finally, quadrant 4 are things that are not urgent and not important. Social media fits here. Gaming, TV, just laying around. This stuff, it's not urgent. You can do it anytime. And it's not important because it doesn't advance your long-term goals. I'm not saying don't ever do this stuff, but do your best to minimize it. Next, we're going to start talking about how to make use of that quadrant theory, the time management quadrants from Covey. First, start off with your syllabus. At the very beginning of every term, your professors will give you a syllabus, or a course outline is another name for it. This contains all of your deadlines, all of your dates, your exams, when essays are due. Usually it even includes what you have to read each week. This is mostly quadrant 2 items. Right? These are things that are important but not urgent, as long as you don't leave them to the last minute, in which case they become quadrant 1 items, which you want to avoid as much as possible because that's when the stress comes in. Lots of different ways you can schedule. Your Lakehead email account is a Gmail account actually, and it's synced with your Google Calendar, which is synced with your MyInfo, so your courses are already built into it. Paper calendars work great as well. If that's the way that you need to do things, you like the handwritten notes, it's another really great option. One downside to a paper calendar is that it's not, if it gets caught in the rain, it gets wrecked, and you can lose it. Whereas your Google Calendar that's connected to your Lakehead email you can take it anywhere you go, and it's cloud-based, so you can always access it as long as you have internet. So one really great time management tool is to make a monthly or a semester schedule. Look at all of your course outlines and write down the big deadlines. Things like lecture times, labs. And your lecture times and labs actually will be auto-populated in your Google Calendar as soon as you sign up for courses. Work and volunteer hours, assignments, tests, exams, all that kind of stuff. Those big things that are down the road, put them into a big calendar. This might be your Google Calendar. It might also be a big wall calendar. A really, really important and useful tip is to color code each different type of task. So you might have your biology classes be blue and your English classes be red. You might have everything to do with holidays be green and everything to do with work be pink. And that way it's easy at a quick glance to see what types of tasks you're going to be having coming up that day. The next tool I want to share with you is a weekly schedule. So once you've got all your long-term goals, assignments, tasks mapped out in a more general sense, then each week it's a good idea to sit down, spend an hour, and map out what individual and specific tasks you need to do each day. You're still not getting down to the fine details like what pages to read, but you're deciding on how you're going to spend each morning, how you're going to spend each afternoon, how you're going to spend each evening in a kind of general sense. So putting commitments into your weekly calendar on Sunday night is a great rhythm to get into. And a good way to do this would be to divide each day up into 90-minute blocks and assign each 90-minute block a topic or a course or type of task. Usually you're going to need to spend 3 or 4 of those 90-minute blocks every week on each course. Like we talked about before, using a color code from your monthly calendar, you can add that to your weekly schedule so that each of your classes and each different area of your life has its own color so that it's easy to follow. A few slides from now, we'll show you a demonstration that kind of shows you how to do this. Giving each block a theme is not a bad idea as well. So things like reading in one of your biology blocks would mean that in that 90 minutes, you're going to spend some time with the textbook. Summarizing notes in another biology block means that you're going to follow up those lectures that you've been to for that class this week and summarizing the notes, etc. For information on doing that, check out our reading and note-taking webinar from the Student Success Center as well. Reading, summarizing notes, assignments, and study really are the 4 main categories most of your schoolwork is going to fit into. But also put things like working out, eating, coffee with a friend, personal stuff. Build that into your calendar so that you do make it happen. And if it's assigned in your calendar, you're much less likely to feel guilty if you're not doing schoolwork all the time because your calendar is saying to do it. And finally, we move into tool number 3, which we call a daily schedule. Each morning, or a lot of people like to do this the night before, assign specific tasks to each 90-minute block for the next day. So, for example, read pages 91 to 124, or make my essay outline and find 6 journal articles. Really specific tasks that you can cross off when you're done. They're easy to measure, they're easy to understand, they're easy to know if they're done. It also feels really good to check things off your list. A good piece of advice is to do the most challenging or the least appealing task first thing. So if you really don't like looking for journal articles, make that the first thing you do so that once it's crossed off, you're looking forward to more enjoyable tasks the rest of the day. All right, let's talk about Google Calendar here. I'm just going to show you some real basic ways to use it and apply the monthly, weekly, and daily planning ideas that we've been discussing. So first, this is Google Calendar. What's really cool about Google Calendar is that your classes are automatically populated in your Google Calendar because it's connected to your Lakehead email and your MyInfo account. So that makes it really convenient. Right now we're looking at the month view. You have lots of different options. You can pick a daily view, you can pick a weekly view. Personally, I like the week view. I think it's the most helpful. It lets you see details of each day with a bit of a bigger picture. I like to use this small calendar on the side to toggle along to different weeks. So for instance, if I was doing my monthly planning and wanted to put in some due dates, maybe I have an English assignment due on Friday, October the 9th. I can just click over here on the 9th. It take me straight to that week. And then to add my due date, I would just click on the spot where I want to add it, right there. English assignment due. I will just type it in. And then if I click more options, it gives me a few other choices. Right now I'm just going to change to the same color because I've got English coded as yellow. And so now I've got my English class listed, my class time, and the English assignment due. If I maybe want to make it stand out a little bit more, I could shrink it so that it stands out and doesn't look like just one big blob. Now that I've done that, I can go through my other syllabuses, pick out the due dates and exam times, and plug them in. Right now, I'm going to show you how to structure a week, so to do that weekly planning. So why don't we go back to the first week of school. School starts on Tuesday the 8th. And you can see for this student here, we've got their classes. So Psych 1100 is happening on Tuesday and Thursday, first thing in the morning. And then I've put in work time, so a 90-minute block and a 90-minute block for them to do work. If we pop to the next week, which has the Monday as well, you'll see I've got 1, 2, 3 90-minute blocks set aside all at the same time. That's a pretty ideal way to structure it, because then you're thinking about that subject at that time of day for working on that subject. And like we said before, this could be doing your readings, this could be reviewing notes, summarizing notes, this could be working on assignments and studying for tests. If we look here, we've also got biology. So we've got 2 biology times and a biology lab time. Well, we need to find some time to work on biology. So looking at this schedule, I would say that right before biology class would probably be a pretty good time to do some of the biology work. And it's fresh in your head, you're already in that headspace. So call it bio work. Again, more options, make it the same color. And then here's a neat little function, is we can click on the does not repeat, and we can set how often we want this to show up. So I'm going to click custom. And then I can say, well, I'd like this to happen Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Click on. It takes me right to the end of the semester. Click done and save. Make sure you hit save, because this is the one Google function that doesn't auto-save everything. And now it's going to tell me every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, it's time to do some biology work. So again, I can do my readings, review my notes the next day, get ready for the lab, etc. And what's cool is that this now happens as we go through the weeks. When you set it up as a custom repeat, you can make it so that it shows up every single week, which is pretty cool. So we'll go ahead and finish off. So right now I've got 3 math slots built in here. Maybe we should do another math work time on Saturday. Saturday is a sleep-in day. Let's not start at 8:30. We'll do math at 10. On Saturdays, we'll have that repeat weekly on Saturday. Save that, and it shows up. Now, a neat option, if I wanted to invite someone, so if I need to make a change, you just click on the entry in your calendar, and you get this little window pops up. If I want to delete it, you can delete it. If I wanted to send it to somebody or invite somebody, I could do it that way. I need to make some changes. I can go in here, like if I need to add a location, or if I wanted to add guests, find people. If I wanted to add a study group, I could just enter someone's name or email in there, and then it'll send them a notification or an invitation. I haven't made any changes, so I don't need to save. And then we need to find some time to work on English. So maybe right after English class wouldn't be a bad time. Or maybe English is what we're going to do in the evening. So maybe 6:30 till 8. We'll do English work. Again, more options. Pick the color and have it repeat. We'll do a custom repeat. Maybe we do Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday at that time. Oops, and I made a bit of a mistake there. I forgot to change it to on, so it was going to just keep going forever, which wouldn't be a problem. You could change that later. Google Calendar is beautiful because you can edit and change it at any point. Click save. Now I'm doing English work a couple days a week. But the other thing that's built in here, I've got wake up times every day. This person's waking up pretty early. The reason they're waking up early is because they're going to go to the gym a couple days a week. So let's go gym. Set up the repeat to be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We're going to let that one not stop repeating because that'll keep going into the next semester, hopefully. And maybe we'll use red as fitness. And so there we go. So we're keeping the basic brown default color that it gave us as our just kind of regular daily stuff. Fitness is now red, and then each class is color coded. So psychology is orange, biology is green, English is yellow, math is pink, and anthropology is blue. So the one thing that we haven't built in here yet is any anthropology work time. It looks like maybe that would be a good time to do some of that. And sometimes you have to kind of squeeze things in where you can fit them. And that's okay. So I'll have that repeat weekly on Monday. And then maybe we'll squeak another one in here. And actually, we could edit that to show up Friday and Saturday. Yeah, this and following events we want to keep happening. And so now, every week, we have the same basic setup. It's kind of nice. Looks like we've left Friday evening and Saturday evening as a bit of a later bedtime, a little bit more time for fun there, because you need to have fun. It's important that you take a break. And it looks like Sunday during the regular part of term might be a day off, which is a great thing. As things pop up, as things get busier, you might fill in Saturday a little bit more, might fill in Sunday a little bit more. That's totally normal. And some students might choose to not do any work in the evenings and build those all into the weekends. It's kind of a personal preference. This is just showing you how to use this and how to set it up. Other things that need to get built in. You need to eat. So let's figure out our lunch times. So from 1 till 1:30, and we'll have that repeat daily. There you go. Now it's in there every day. And again, this is just you setting up your own guidance. This is your time. You can change, alter it as you see fit. I forgot to title this. It's really nice. Again, really nice thing about Google Calendar is that you can edit things at any time, make quick changes, and it shows up right away for you. And then maybe each day you want to build in a bit of a breather time in the evening. So I'll have that repeat daily. And I think I made it a little bit too long. Let's make it an hour and a half long. So after you finish your math work or your biology lab, you go for a little walk, have some dinner. And then in the evenings, make sure you schedule in things like fun. The reason to schedule in something like fun is that it allows you to do it because you're going to do it anyway. You're going to find social time. You're going to make it happen. But this way, you don't feel guilty because your calendar is telling you it's time to have fun. It's time to sit and watch Netflix. It's time to play a video game. It's time to go for a walk with a friend or have a coffee with somebody. And that's a really nice, freeing thing to do, especially if you've checked off all your work for the day and then now it's fun time. You can relax a little bit better. Now, that's the weekly planning. Each week go in, that's the long-term planning. Go to at the start of the semester, set up your blocks. Set up your 90-minute blocks for your week. Set them up to repeat so that your schedule is created. And then each week, you can have a look at what's coming up this week. So maybe you're going to take your psychology syllabus Sunday evening, sit down with your syllabus from each class, but we'll focus on psych right now. And you're going to say, okay, before my Tuesday lecture, I need to have read pages 27 to 67. And this time we're going to have just this event because that's just that day. So now when I click on this, it's going to tell me what to do. Right? Read pages 27 to 67. And so now what you're going to do is you're going to go through each of your blocks, of each of your work time blocks, and assign yourself specific tasks to do. So it might be doing your reading, it might be reviewing notes, depending on when it is. If you on Sunday evening go through your whole week and quickly tell yourself what it is you need to do in each of your work blocks. That really helps you set yourself up for success because you now, on Friday afternoon when it's math work time, when you open this up, it tells you exactly what to work on rather than you having to decide. Because on Friday afternoon, if you have the choice to decide what you're going to work on, you're probably going to say, oh, there's no work to do. It's really easy to trick yourself into thinking that. But if it's already been pre-decided for you, by you, it's a lot easier to hold yourself accountable. There are, of course, other things to consider beyond knowing how to operate Google Calendar and planning your tasks out. Other things to consider might be things like energy. Which tasks are going to drain your energy and which are going to help you recharge? It's probably best to alternate these so that maybe something that you find tiring or draining is followed up by something that makes you feel energized and excited. Think about when you're most productive. Do you work better in the morning? Do you work better in the evening? Try to avoid scheduling things for the last minute because while a lot of us convince ourselves that we work really well at the last minute, most of us really don't. And then again, priority. What tasks are the most important? Did you make time for those? Try phrasing things in terms of I didn't make time for it rather than I don't have time for it. Saying that you're not making time for something is a much more honest way to explain, and it also helps you to be more responsible for your own time. A lot of times time management is more about self-management. And framing things in terms of making time versus having time is a great way to recognize what your priorities are. So energy level. To keep your energy level high, you've got to have time to recover. Athletes don't train at their max all the time. They have times when they work really hard and they have times that they have breaks, that they rest. Scheduling short breaks into your work will help you regain your focus and put in a high quality effort. You can't sprint all day, is what we're saying. So a good way to think about this is every hour and a half, take 15 minutes of rest time. Sometimes it's hard to convince yourself that you need the rest, but when you come back, you're always more effective and efficient. Do good things to recover. Go outside, play some sports, go for a walk. If you're on campus, there's lots to do. There's trails, there's places to walk. On the Thunder Bay campus, we've got the McIntyre River with all kinds of trails around it. On the Aurelia campus, Scouts Valley is just down the road with tons of great spots to go for a walk, get some fresh air, and feel better. Maybe meet a friend for coffee. Lots of opportunities to recharge, recover, and make yourself more effective. If you start feeling overwhelmed or anxious, don't worry, it's totally normal. It really is part of university studies. When you feel that way, sometimes you might feel like the answer or your reaction is to give up, is to hide, is to put things off till later. But all that really does is defer the stress. A lot of times the best time to deal with something is right now. So a good way to manage anxiety, a good way to manage feeling overwhelmed is to make a list, make a plan, write down all of the things that you need to get done, and then break each of those big tasks into smaller steps. When you identify each of the small steps that needs to be taken in order to complete the task, a lot of the times it feels a lot less scary, a lot less overwhelming. Please access the academic supports at Lakehead, the Student Success Center, the Academic Support Zone, the Writing Center, math tutoring. These are all academic supports that are in place to make sure that you do your best. Using these services doesn't mean that you're not smart. It doesn't mean you're not capable. It just means you need a little bit of help. It might be that you don't know how to do school, not that you're not able to do school. So please come see us and we will help. Student Health and Wellness and Student Accessibility Services are two other really important supports that are in place, again, to make sure you have what you need. So please connect with the services, ask questions, and if they're not the place to help with what you need, they'll let you know and they'll help you find the support that actually is helpful for you. Now let's talk about procrastination. Procrastination is choosing pleasurable activities over pressing demands, or putting off work till later. Procrastination leads to lots of troubles. It can lead to a lack of focus and commitment. It can lead to poor academic results. And the problem with that is that it's a cycle. So as you procrastinate more, you become less focused, which makes you procrastinate more. And then you get less focused, less committed. Your grades get worse. And then you start getting into the extreme cases where you feel guilty, you feel inadequate, you maybe start to feel depressed, which makes it harder to be committed and motivated and focused. So if you feel yourself starting down the road of procrastination, take care of it quickly. It's helpful to understand why we procrastinate. Sometimes it's because we're genuinely not interested in the topic. Even if this is the case, if you're signed up for the course, you need to get through it, especially if you're after the drop date. So sometimes you have to dig down and find some motivation, even if that motivation just is that the course will be over in a few more weeks. Sometimes we fool ourselves into believing we work best under pressure. Most of the time, that's just not true. The more time you spend spread out on an assignment, the better the mark is likely to be, especially if you're putting in effective short bursts spread out over a long period of time. For help with planning out and making your assignments the best they can be, go to the Writing Center in the library on the Thunder Bay campus or in the residence building on the Aurelia campus and get some help. The writing coaches can really do a great job of helping you set up your assignment so that it's the best you can produce. Another reason we often procrastinate is that we're worried about it not being perfect. This idea is tricky. It's that you're trying to reduce the impact of a poor grade on your self-esteem. The idea here is that if you invest yourself fully into a task and give it 100% and still don't get the mark you want, this hurts your self-esteem. But if you wait until the day before and only put in 60 or 80% of your effort and you get a poor grade, it's easier to accept. This is a trick that we play on ourselves. Don't fall into it. Procrastination really is a form of self-handicapping or perfectionism because we don't want to think that 100% of our effort will fall short. You're not going to be perfect, and that's okay. No one's expecting you to be. We are expecting that you put in your best. Let's talk about some ways to deal with procrastination if you find yourself falling into that trap. First, you need to be aware of it. What are your tendencies when you're procrastinating? Do you find yourself watching a lot of Netflix when you're supposed to be doing schoolwork? Do you find yourself playing video games? Do you find yourself cleaning over and over and over again? Do you find yourself cooking new things instead of doing your work? If you're noticing that you're doing the same activity over and over again, especially at times when you're supposed to be doing schoolwork according to your calendar, you might be procrastinating. A great strategy is to set small, achievable goals. Break things up, break big tasks up into smaller little steps, like we talked about before, and you'll find that you're checking things off quickly, getting through the work faster, and suddenly you're thinking about it in a different way and less likely to keep procrastinating. If you find that it's becoming a real problem, seek some help. The Student Success Center, like I said before, can help. We can set you up with a time management plan. We can do some regular check-ins to help you stay focused. Student Health and Wellness is another great place to get help with this sort of thing, especially if you think that you might need some help with your mental health. A few additional tips or things to think about when it comes to time management. Be realistic. Recognize that this stuff takes time. A 10-page paper cannot be done well in just one day. It takes hours and hours and hours, which leads to point number 2, which is start assignments and papers early. And by early, we mean immediately. Hours and hours and hours into a 10-page paper isn't so bad if it's spread out over the course of a 3-month semester. If you wait until the day it's due or the day before it's due, suddenly you've run into a major problem of not having enough time to do it well. So be realistic about how much time you have and how much you can get done in that time. And start your assignments and your papers as soon as they're assigned. Go to the library, get some help finding resources so you can start thinking about it and start reading about the topic. Break large tasks into small, manageable chunks. Can't say enough how powerful that is. Write a 10-page paper is an intimidating and terrifying proposition. Find 6 resources or journal articles. That's not so bad. Finally, learn to say no. Use a do not disturb sign on your door. When someone asks, hey, can you meet for coffee? Do you want to go work out? Do you want to play hockey this afternoon? If your calendar's full, show them your calendar and say, sorry, I can't today, but tomorrow I've got time. And show them the block. It's much easier and you feel less guilty about saying no when someone can see that you actually are already committed to something. Little recap. First, choose your priorities. What matters, and keep it as what matters. Urgent, important, ask yourself those questions. And remember to try to stay as much as you can in quadrant 2, that important but not urgent section. Think about this things that are going to help you move forward with your long-term goals. Use monthly, weekly, and daily strategies. Break the semester down into months, weeks, and days, and within that, hours. Break it up into small tasks. Mix things up. You can't be sprinting all the time. Take breaks, take rests, find ways to recover. And finally, understand and manage procrastination and seek help if you need it. The main message here, time management is actually self-management. Understanding yourself and using effective strategies for yourself will reduce your stress and boost your grades. It'll also help you have time to enjoy hobbies and social activities and have the best time you can while you're at Lakehead. Thanks so much for paying attention. Take care.